Hey, yo, what's going on, guys? Today, a brand new episode of Buy or Bust for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the brand new Series 5 card that is data mined to released on Tuesday, and that is going to be Stardust. We're going to be talking about the key synergies and counters, the good, the bad, the floor, the ceiling, as well as 3 different decks for Stardust as well. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. In case you guys did not know, Stardust is a 4-cost, 7-power card that has the ongoing ability cards cannot be added to locations except by playing them or moving them. So, Broodlings, Hela, Jubilee, Isan, Malekith, maybe even, I don't know, Destroy cards might make that way too. It would make sense for like Nimrod, X-23, and Wolverine not to be able to go to another location because they're not being played when they go to another location. Fenris, Fenris can't revive a card back on its location. So there's a bunch of different cards that can get countered by this ongoing ability, which is very interesting, whereas the card itself is kind of a little boring. But let's go ahead and talk about the key synergies and then counters for this card as well. The first key synergy I'm thinking of is Zabu. It's a 4-cost card. Zabu discounts it. And then Sarah. When I think of Sarah, I'm thinking about some tech soup. And I have Sarah just as like one of the focal cards here as just the tech slop that we're seeing everywhere right now. It's another just tech card that is added to the game, but an ongoing tech card, which isn't as cool or maybe interactable as some of the other ones, because it's just an ongoing card that stays there. It doesn't afflict anything. It doesn't move anything. It just prevents things from happening. Kind of like a Professor X in a sense. It's kind of just like a boring kind of tech card in a sense, except this is a global one, kind of more like a war machine. And then also I'm thinking of Gladiator, because Gladiator, Sentry, Doc Ock, those are cards that normally either add a card, to this location or add the Void to the far right. If you do have Stardust on the board, it would make sense that those cards can't be added to the board, so you just have that power set on the board yourself, which is really cool because it takes away the downside of that power for those cards. But let's talk about the counters for this card too. The first counter we're going to be talking about here is going to be Enchantress. It's an ongoing card, Enchantress. The next one's going to be Rogue. Rogue steals ongoing abilities, so it could steal your Stardust. And then Red Guardian. If this card's by itself, Red Guardian will hit it. But more often than not, I think it's more realistic. Enchantress would be the main card that kind of disrupts what's going on here. And then let's talk about the good for this card as well. It's an ongoing card, so less counters. So you guys just saw on the counter screen. Solid stats at a 4/7. Of course, it is a 4-cost, but of course, Zabu is still popular. Zabu exists. Zabu decreases this. You also have Mr. Fantastic First Steps. Fanta to be able to decrease it. You have Surge to be able to decrease it, to be able to get it out early. And then there's lots of cards that counters, which is, of course, really good and adds value for this card itself. And I believe that's the gist of actually the good over here. We move over to the bad. It does limit you and your opponent, so it's not just your opponent can't play, can't just add cards everywhere. It also affects you. It just says, in general, it's just an ongoing players can't. So just keep that in mind prospectively. And of course, the best value is you kind of have to play this card. Not have to play this card early, but you're going to get the best value if you can ramp this card out, whether it is on 3 or even potentially earlier, depending on, what Fantastic hits. I mean, I guess 3 would be like with Fantastic in general, unless you use some crazy locations, with Zabu and stuff. But I think you kind of want to get this card early to be able to counter as much things as possible. And of course, you're probably playing a deck that isn't running cards that add stuff to the board. So you have that to kind of protect yourself, or you're using this as a protecting factor against, the cards that you have that do add cards to the board but have a negative connotation behind them. And the ability is kind of just boring, like it's kind of meta dependent as well. If you really want to think about it that way, it's a meta dependent ability. So like if there's nothing that's really adding stuff to the board, it's just a 4/7 that sits there for you, so it depends on your matchups and stuff. But let's talk about the floor and the ceiling for this card. So, the floor is late draw, and you don't get any tech value. It's just a 4/7. Okay? Now, at your ceiling, you're playing this early on curve, or you're playing this at just a point that just counters what your opponent's trying to do, and it just kind of just helps you just win the game because they can't do pretty much their gameplay that they were trying to mess around with. So, you have that to kind of just offset. They may have a huge brood, but they're not going to get the other additional broods because Stardust is there. So you have that counter, which is another just good plus. But let's talk about these 3 decks we have for Stardust as well. So the first deck we have is you can't add stats. And I'm saying you can't add stats because You cannot add the Gladiator card, the Doc Oct card. Those kind of like my idea there. We don't have Fenris in this because it kind of is counterintuitive. I think we have Fenris in the deck later, but it's like you have to play around. You know, if you have Fenris, you're not going to be able to add the card that you cannonball to your side of the board because the ongoing ability only works for played or moved cards. Because Fenris just, you know, grabs a card from the discard and adds it to your location, it's not playing that card out, so that's kind of is counter to Fenris, which is good. I mean, I guess if you're running into a lot of Fenris, you have this to protect your cards from going to your opponent's side of the board, but it doesn't protect it from cannonball, per se. But it's kind of just more like an all-stats kind of idea here. Next, we have Toxic Stars, which is very similar pretty much to the Merlin, Werewolf, and Nihilist deck, but you don't have the Cannonball and Mercury in this, but you have Stardust as another out to potentially not draw cards for Gladiator Destroy, and also not to get the Void on the board was kind of my idea because you're not playing the Void, so the Void can't be added to location. Your On Reveal still goes off, but the Void does not go and get added to a location. And then lastly, we have just Sarah tech, just some Sarah stats kind of thing. We have Shang-Chi in all three lists of today's video, which is crazy. I know I haven't done that in a hot minute. But we have just pretty much just all tech. If you want to run tech soup, here is some tech soup for you. But let's talk about this card. So as we were talking about the ability, cards can't be added to locations except by playing them or removing them. I think that's pretty strong. Of course, it's going to be meta dependent. That's why I don't think it'll necessarily be adjusted. Flexibility-wise, it is a tech card. It is a boring tech card, but it is a strong tech card in the sense of the ability is pretty strong. It is just meta-dependent, which is why I do say this card is a buy, but it's not like a must-have buy. This is a tech card, and I think tech card is a good tech card. I don't think you would, prioritize this over some of the other tech cards if you don't have, like, the Red Guardian, or if you don't have like a Fenris or like a Cannonball or a Mercury kind of thing. But I do think this is a good card. The cards this season kind of seem just a little bit just boring until we get to like the later cards this week, and they're either boring, like the Series 5 cards are either boring or they're tech cards. We just have a different variety of like kind of like tech cards, which is really interesting. It's like an all-tech season, I guess, with the Heralds. Maybe they're all techy for Galactus and stuff. But that brings us to our final notes here. If you guys did not know, we talk about this every single week. So at the end of the day, I can give you guys suggestions on, what you guys should and shouldn't buy. But, we are just theory crafting here. We have not had any access to these cards, so we do not know how they're actually going to function in the meta. This is releasing at the same time, if it's data mined correctly, as 4 other cards. So there's a lot of stuff that can really happen this week when it comes to a general. And potentially even more than 4 cards, because I think Fantasticar is getting added into Series 4 seasonal packs. So technically there's like 6 cards getting added into this next week, if it's data mined correctly. So just keep that in mind when it comes to this. At the end of the day, your resources, spend them the way you want to spend them. Spend on the stuff that you really enjoy playing, or you maybe want to try out. So just keep that in mind. Good cards do get nerfed, unless they're season pass cards, and bad cards do get buffed. It just really depends on the flavor of the week, and sometimes bad cards don't get buffed at all, and sometimes good cards continue to get buffed. Like Mobius going to a 3/4, which is still kind of crazy to me. And then, good cards getting nerfed. Sunspot gets nerfed, but Fantasticar didn't get nerfed in the OTA. Kind of crazy, but I mean, season pass cards sell. But at the end of the day, I do appreciate you guys for all the love and support. I hope you guys did enjoy the video yesterday. I kind of want to get back into making season pass videos, and I guess season pass and doing the premium season pass together. So let me know if that's something you guys did enjoy as well. And definitely feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. It is totally free to do so. Trying to hit 4,000 subs, and maybe by the end of summer would be freaking awesome. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and spin real. God bless, and Tucker out.